There we go.
All right, so we're going to continue the Enneagram Universe and OPS series, and this is Kelly.
Hi.
All right, so just first of all, yeah, Kelly's my friend, so I'm really excited for this interview. I know it's going to be a really good one. Kelly is actually type twins with Oprah in the Enneagram. However, in OPS, she's 3 coins off from Oprah.
Mhm.
So Kelly has
Mm.
masculine FE instead of feminine FE. She's savior sensory, so she has SI as a savior instead of NI, as
Mm.
Oprah does. And then Kelly's also savior sleep with play
Mhm.
third, whereas
Mhm.
Oprah's play second, sleep third.
Yeah.
So very close, but they're twins in Enneagram. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's like if my Angelou and Oprah had a baby, that would kind of be me in OPS.
that's interesting to think about.
Right.
So let's look into it. So first of all, can you state your full
Yep.
OPS type?
Of course. My 512 is FESI. Oh wow, I haven't thought about this. What? Blast, sleep, play, consume. Double masculine.
All right. And in Enneagram, what is your type?
In in Enneagram, it is SOSP 693127.
Perfect. Awesome. So first of all, how long ago did you get into OPS?
OPS, it was like I originally got into it like 2019, 2018. Was watching a few of their videos on it and uh, whatever. I say I got busy. Let's just say I got busy. But I kept paying for it. Like I liked what they were doing and I was like I'm going to get back to this sometime when I have time.
Hmm.
And it was funny, even back then, they were, like, talking about the community, and I tried to find, like and I found some weird forum but nobody was posting on it, so I was like, "Whatever." Um,
Hmm.
and then I got a leadership coach at work, and in was it 20 wait, it must have been earlier than 2019 because
Hmm.
no. Yeah, no. I'm sorry. Oh, wow. I haven't thought about this in a while. Um, did I what year is it now? 2023, right?
Hmm.
I knew you were gonna ask this, I should have prepared for this. Oh my god, I'm drawing such a blank. Anyway,
It's all good.
whenever it is that I got typed, what was it, last year? The year before last year, whatever year that was that 2021? Yeah. Because
Should be.
my type date for OPS was a palindrome. It was 12/2/21. Um,
Okay.
yeah. Anyway, so so weird. Yeah, there's some masculine SI for you. Can't keep track of that.
Interesting.
Um, but I had yeah, so I guess it was 2021, early 2021 then I had the
Hmm.
leadership coach at work and on paper well, in fact, I got into OPS originally, right? Because like I was, you
Hmm.
know, peripherally into the MBTI stuff. I don't really speak this story out loud, but I'll share it now. It's embarrassing.
Hmm.
Um, of course, I like everybody was thinking I was an INFJ,
Hmm.
but the internet was telling me I'm not. Like everything I was seeing was saying you're not, right? And that's how I
Hmm.
found OPS. I found like the superpowers videos, and then signed up for the class or whatever, right? That's how I ended up getting into it. Anyway, by the time I got the leadership coach at work and she was MBTI certified or whatever, and she gave me the paper test. On the paper test I got INTJ. um Although like sort of in the middle with the T and the F, and I was like, and when she sat down, so when you get the Myers-Briggs one, like you sit down with the person and they talk it out with you and they sort of like push you on how you answered things, right?
Yeah.
And mm, whatever. She had some strange anecdotes of her own. She's like, "Go look in your purse," and like, "Are you really that
Mm,
organized?" Some people like to say that they're organized because that's what they think their boss wants, and blah blah blah
mm,
blah blah. So she convinced me that I was OE, basically. Um,
mm,
as we were going back and forth, I was like non-movable on the introvert. I thought I knew definitely that I was an introvert.
mm,
And I mean, on the spectrum of the animal stacks, right? I am the most introverted out of all of the extroverts, right? My animal
mm.
stack. So it's
Interesting.
somewhat true. But, when you look at the definition of it, like in times of stress, yeah, I am pushing outward. Even though I'd like to say that I'm going in, no, I'm in times of high stress, I will push on everybody. Actually, quick pause real quick, and like even just relatively recently, a couple months ago maybe, like there was something drama that happened with like my dad and my father-in-law and yada yada yada. At a certain point I was like in a ball on the floor saying, I don't understand, I don't understand, I don't understand. And my instinct was to call my, because I like went through my head and I was like, whose fault is this? And my
Mm.
instinct was to call my father-in-law and just rail into him about how he caused this whole thing. But
Oh
like because of like the whole OP stuff and everything, I had the it was weird. I was like seeing myself outside of myself, right? And I was like,
no.
that's you doing the thing. Like do a different thing, you know? And so
Hmm.
I was still freaking out, but I wasn't like I didn't play into the old pattern, right? Which was pretty cool.
Hmm.
Anyway, um that's being introvert extrovert. So I was non-movable on the introvert extrovert. On the She convinced me of sensory though over intuition, and I'm an IT director, so she had no problem thinking I was a thinker.
Hmm.
Um, in fact, she was like, even throughout our coaching, she was like, "You're very emotionally intelligent." And I was like, for a thinker, you're very like. But she refused to believe that I was a judger, right?
I wonder
You
if this
know,
lady's like intuition last or something, because there's like stuff pointing out that it just like passed by her face, like.
I know, but also it's, I really do think it has a matter of like um how different people look at it, right? Like there's different ways you
Mhm,
can define it. And the way that and I like how like Brian had described it in the last video you did with him, right? Like it's just like there's more granularity with OP and it does give us a certain level of like different definitions, especially when it comes to like the observer axis. I think it's pretty
mm,
interesting. Um
okay.
but so she but between my purse being a mess and she looked at my bookcase in the background, she was like, yeah, whatever. um
Mm.
so anyway, she typed me we as an ISTP.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And I, and I was thinking, I was like, okay, so like the cognitive functions that would be, and then I was thinking, because in the back of my mind, I'm still like this, like prove that I'm not an INFJ, right? And I was like, oh, okay, that's still beta quadra functions. I didn't know what the quadras were at the time, but right, I was like, okay, so they're the same functions, just different order. Okay, I'll play around with that. Um, Anyway, but like the way she was like, when I said, so that's these functions, she was like, oh, don't worry about that. That doesn't mean anything. I was like, mm.
Mm.
And I started to remember the OP stuff, and then I started like looking up videos, and I actually I don't know why I didn't go straight back to OP. I just their videos are I just like even their beginner series videos. I know they have a bunch of like they did finally did some of the SI on there, right? And have the definitions up now. But like at
Mhm,
the time I just it was I had to get it into a spreadsheet. I had to start my spreadsheet. It has 186 columns, and start really actually plugging in all of the information because it's just so scattered. It was so scattered. I mean, even just like when they would bring up like glass lizards, I'm like, what video do you have where you define what a fucking glass lizard is? Um, you know?
yeah.
And anyway, so I had found I don't know why I'm going into this. It's not that long. Anyway, so I had found um, videos from Joyce Meng,
Hmm. Yep.
and she
Yep.
did a bunch of things. And that's when also, like, even in the back of my mind, I was remembering OP, but like Dave, Dave of all people, Dave was on there. I
Hmm.
probably found him because again, MBTI lady said I was ISTP, and then like there was I think he was some on some ISTP panel, and he had like the full 512 type on him. I was like, that's that thing. And at the time, I still all of those letters. I'm like, what are all of those letters? I can't.
Yeah.
Um, and then that's when I just like I really dove in, and then in a lot of their videos, they're like the community. I was like, what community? And finally, I decided I was like, let me just check Facebook. Although I had this sort of like bias in my head that like Facebook groups were stupid, like people in Facebook groups were stupid.
Hmm.
So anyway, I found Facebook groups, and then they were doing one of like the type reveal days or something like that, and and that's what I got onto the Discord, and I really enjoyed the Discord while I was on it, um, for a hot minute, and then of course, and I don't know if you've asked me the question yet, but I know it's the next one coming. Um, people in the community were getting into Enneagram, EU, um,
Hmm.
and so of course I was interested in that because everybody was doing it. I wanted to get in on it, and and I joined that Facebook group too. I had left the OP Facebook group a long time ago when they had that like racist guy who was talking like trying to like map the functions to just making
Hmm.
leaps and assumptions that don't
Yeah.
aren't needed.
Hmm.
And I was like, I'm done with this now. And then the EU one, I didn't stay in very long. I got what I needed out of that, and we can certainly go into that when we start going into the types. But like,
Hmm.
it was not my vibe. Um,
I
Nothing
see.
against anybody there, but there was a certain, I don't know if it was you know, I, you know what it seemed like? It seemed like because there's like so many of them are not sex blind in the like leadership
Hmm.
group there. It feels like this like everybody's trying to prove themselves.
Hmm.
I was like, ugh, I can't be in this where I don't need to prove myself. I'm sorry.
Hmm.
It was just gross. It felt because it feels like it starts to get like very ego driven, and I can feel myself getting wrapped up in that, and then like I don't know,
Hmm.
not my vibe.
I'm really curious. What was your self type in OPS?
Oh, I went through 1,000 different versions. Of course, I was like, for whatever reason, I started, with that ISTP thing from the MBTI lady, and I was thinking those were definitely my functions until I saw the Michelle Thaler class. At the time,
Hmm.
that's when that class came out, and I was like, oh, that's the NESI axis. You have NESI. This was before they revealed her type. I recognized her as having NESI, and I was like, and I do too.
Oh.
Yeah, there was something about how she was talking that I was like, "Yes, you are seeing the universe in the same way that I am." And I know that that's not that could be anecdotal, but there's a resonance there to how reality is interacted with and seen that I think is very different for NESI versus
What's
SENI.
her full type? She's not
I
familiar.
think she essentially is my opposite. Like
Oh,
she's
really?
I think a double feminine what's his name? Neil deGrasse Tyson.
It's double feminine NETI. Yeah, consume, play, blast, sleep.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, and that's in that class too, they were talking about how, in that class too, they were talking about how, FE was like, all values are valuable, and FI is the one that's like, like we have to share the same values, which that kind of resonated with me too. But at the time,
Hmm.
I had already so I was starting to think INTP, of course. So like perfect. I typed myself upside down. I did the thing. I, wonderfully just like everybody else. Um and but like the community was seeing a lot of TEFI access. So I started to convince myself of
Oh.
that, right? And it was
Hmm.
funny too because like there's a certain point where um I really thought, like, because being in IT and everything like that, and the MBTI lady typing me ISTP, which was ST consume, but like for what I was doing, it felt like ST blast. And I started creating this formula on like shadow animals and stuff like that. And I was trying to figure out how is it that I am ST blasting,
Hmm.
but I'm ST consume, right? So
Hmm.
anyway, pull all of that together, community, seeing TEFI, I was like, okay, maybe I'm just Delta Quadra. So for a while
Hmm.
there, I was thinking like INFP or ENFP, and in fact, even like I was watching like Annie's channel. She was like miserable cow at a certain point, right? Like, and I was
Yep.
resonating with a lot of what she was saying, which is funny too because there's a person who got typed. She was on her channel. What's her name? Jessica, right? Who's like a couple clicks off from me, but like she thought like the community was typing her as a type twin to
Annie.
Annie. So like, yeah. So there is some. Wasn't like for the vibe and for how people misunderstand the functions and what they are and what they do and what the definitions are, wasn't that far off, I don't think. But yeah, I remember like in my spreadsheet I was like marking off like dates of like this date I think I'm this type and this date I think I'm this type, and there was one where I had put like it was like basically Oprah or like some version of Oprah, and I was like maybe but like not likely, like lead Effie, I was like maybe, probably not. Yeah. Anyway.
That's really curious because from what I've heard, masculine FE can be confused for masculine FI, so it may look like FIT.
Mm,
So
mhm.
maybe that's why it confused a lot of the like coins.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, and I think too with, Save Your Sleep and potentially being a head type in Enneagram, potentially, I think there's a lot of, I mean, people say they see the thinker,
hmm.
although I really don't think I speak or move like a thinker.
Hmm. I mean, the sleep is there, so it's still
Yeah.
a little bit there. Um, that's really interesting because yeah, like as a core six, you said that what bothered you about the Enneagram Facebook group was that people were like kind of trying to prove themselves. Um,
Mm,
but what's interesting is that as a core six, six tends to have to prove itself.
mm,
It tends to. So I wonder if it's like you're seeing it in other people, but it's like maybe you want it on your terms, or maybe you don't want to overdo it. I don't know. How would you
mm.
maybe relate to that?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Well, I think, I'm sort of obsessed with shadow work, and I think that also it's like the other side of 6 though too, right? With the obsession with duality, right? It's just like the split, right?
Hmm.
Um, and also that whole like isn't there's a thing with 6, right? Of like not wanting to be the everyman, right?
Mm,
And I really think that well, going to the shadow work thing, um there is something inside me where and maybe it is the demon identity, right? Like, or the
mm,
not allowed, and maybe it's also the masculine DE at the top. There is a level of like, um, I can feel when like I'm feeling like I hate using the word ego because it can mean so many different things, but like prideful, right?
mm,
Which is interesting because that's like the shadow or whatever of the or the fear, or I forget what they call it, the passion, whatever, like the thing with 3, right? Value and pride,
mm.
right?
Yep.
And that's my last one. And I'm very anti that, right? Like I can feel when that's coming up, like, and I don't want to
Mm,
be part of that. And then, but then I'll also, and I know we were talking about getting swept up before in emotions, but like whatever like the vibe is, like that's a really good word, that's a particularly good word I think they use for effing, right? The vibe, right? Or
mm,
feeling, um whatever vibe in the group that I'm in, right? Like I will get swept up in that, I will be that, I will become what the group is.
mm,
um and I knew that that wasn't something that I wanted to. I knew that that was a tone, a song, a melody that I had sort of danced in before and didn't want anymore.
Mm,
It was like I've done that dance. I don't like how that music sounds. It gets my heart racing too much.
hmm.
Um,
Interesting.
does that make sense? I feel like I'm not
No, it makes a lot
providing
of
clarity
sense.
there.
Makes a lot of sense to me. I guess we're gonna do things backwards this time, just to be a little spontaneous.
There you go.
We'll just start on
Sorry
Enneagram
to
first.
screw you up, man.
So
Your
that
way,
that just
whatever.
whatever happens happens. So yeah, so that just make a lot of sense to me because the way I kind of understand six is like it's very like it's as if the mind is in two places at once. And so it kind of has to play like multiplayer in a way with the minds where it's like, oh well, if I'm here, then how can I predict where the other half of the mind is going to go as I move on this side?
Mm,
So like it's kind of like trying to dance with like multiple pieces, like different mental pieces. And specifically with social six, I to my understanding of it, with social six, it's always predicting like social changes. So like
mm,
if this person enters the room, how does the vibe shift? Or if I
mm,
say this, how will that
mhm,
affect like where's everybody's
mhm.
mind gonna go as I'm
Yeah.
saying this in this specific way?
Mhm,
Like those kind of things. And also like I mean it's just being totally prepared on a social level for negativity and to be able to react to things
mhm.
as you need to. So that's just kind of my understanding of it. I'm not sure if maybe you see it a specific way in yourself that is coded in your lead FE.
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah, I think that, that makes sense, especially, like, like, tracking all of that thing, like, even, like and I think it runs into a little bit with my SI as well, where it's like whenever I enter a new group of people, right, I'm like or a new situation, I'm like, "What's the rules?" Like, I think that has to definitely with the SOSP especially, right? Because it's like, I need to make sure that I understand where the walls of the house are. Like, I will follow the rules. I need everybody else to follow the rules. I need to feel safe. Like, is
Hmm.
everything right? Like, that's the surface level, like, rough
That
part
makes
of it.
sense.
Yeah.
Especially as like social self-pres where it's like social rules. So social
Yeah.
rules with and then six is compliant. So I think
Right.
that's like the interaction maybe.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think with the then, I think where it comes out, especially with the masculine FE, is that it's like, yeah, I feel like I've calmed down a little bit, but like, um, especially in when I was more unconscious than I am now. Um, I'm
Hmm.
sure I'll be even less unconscious a year from now. But um,
Hmm.
saying all that, I think I'll definitely be more to be like, you know, when things aren't going the way that I have identified that the social rules should be,
Hmm.
like I'm gonna like, and that's where it's like that pushing on the tribe thing too. It's like, this is not working the way
Hmm.
that it's supposed to work. Like, and I know working is like a team or whatever. Don't get caught up on that little sensory
Hmm.
word there. But like, like this is not working how it's supposed to work. So, we've got to like you got to get in line. Like we've got to get in line. That's where like the Karen comes out, right? It's like we gotta sort this out. And I don't know if how much of that also is like maybe the one wing because it's like providing the harmony and the nine, but it's also like doing it in a structured sort of rule based way. So I don't
I
know if
do
that's
think
the
that's the 6.7 to be honest, because
yeah.
6.7 is seen as like working with other people. It's like two heads, like having like
Mm,
two heads on your because like six and seven are both head types. It's double head, and then
mm,
the six
mm.
it the six starts with like a thought structure that already exists, and then the seven is like exploring in an assertive way. So I think it's probably from that.
Tell me more about the seven exploring.
So like seven is assertive, it's frustration, it's positive, and so it's like it's looking for
Mm,
opportunities that you can just kind of step on. Um, it's and because it's frustrated, it's a frustration type. It's always chasing an ideal, but it never reaches it, and that's why it's frustrated. So I think with the six, it's like, okay, well, we're trying to work this out, but we're like
mm,
frustrated with trying to find an answer. So like, let's
right.
push a little harder.
I
And I think
gotcha.
that's probably it.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, but it's definitely, and it's coming from I could definitely feel the fear behind the six of like in that moment, in those types of moments where it's like the fear is that like because if we don't settle this, it's all gonna fall apart, and I don't know then where I exist in it.
Hmm.
You know, like you have to keep this house up because if this house doesn't stay up, I disappear.
Hmm.
You know.
Hmm. Interesting.
But I've been learning to, like, sort of, like that's been part of a lot of the journey lately is, like, even
Hmm.
understanding that disappearing is not necessarily even, like, I am in everything, and I think that's when it starts to lean into the 9 a little bit, but also to skip ahead a little bit, this whole, like, idea in, like, even, like, the Tao Te Ching, you have, like, in the chapter or verse 2 or whatever in the opposites, right? Which is funny, opposites. There's this thing about, they build but they do not dwell within, and because they do not dwell within, they never depart, right?
Hmm.
Which I think I don't know, in my mind, oh my in my mind speaks a bit to the sorry, my computer's still ringing. Um in my mind relates a little bit to the sexual instinct, right? And
Hmm.
in allowing for that organic growth, right? Where it's like, I'm so stuck on having to build the perfect sort of boat, right? That
Hmm.
like and I think it's the overactivated control too in OP is that I'm trying to build this perfect boat so that I can withstand any storm rather
Hmm.
than just like feeling the wave of the storm and flowing through it and seeing what could happen, right? To speak of another water analogy there, like it's like sandcastles, right? Like, and it's like, instead of getting, and then I think maybe that's the seventh thing too, is that like instead of getting frustrated that now I've built it and now like the water has now washed it away, like actually kind of starting to enjoy the surprise in that, right?
Hmm.
And seeing what new shapes it could bring rather than being so upset that like what I was building is now gone. And I think a
Hmm.
lot of it has to I'm going on a tangent now. A lot of it has to do with presence, right? Because then like it's like every single moment you're in, you can enjoy what you're in when you're in it. And if you're constantly thinking about like what you're trying to build to so you get this perfect thing that you finally and then what? And then what? When you have this perfect
Hmm.
thing built, then what, right? When in fact the act of being in it and building it and feeling it and being there in the moment, um, when the tide comes up and washes it away, that's just another thing happening in the moment that you can enjoy within the moment. And I'm saying it romantically now. I'm starting to really feel that.
Hmm.
When I'm in the moment, I like it. Um, Staying in the moment can be a struggle, though. But anyway, that's I don't know how we got there. Let's. I'm starting to get shaky because I feel like I just went on a tangent.
No, no, it's
Let's.
good. It's really cool. I mean, it sounds like you're really bleeding into the nine at this point.
Yeah, maybe.
So I'm curious because I'm also kind of hearing your overlay actually. Your 127 overlay.
Oh yeah,
It's like you're talking
cool
about
teacher.
building something and like trying to see the positive that it leaves.
Mhm.
I think with that 7 2, they're both positive numbers.
Mhm.
Um, and like exploring with the seven, and I feel like you're getting into the overlay. Um, I'm just not super familiar with 127. I'm familiar with 137. That's the TED Talk, but 127 is like I would imagine similar, but it's probably a little bit more. Um, it has like that rejection with the two. Two is a
Mhm.
rejection type. It's positive, and it's super ego. So there's like a specific way to do things
Mhm.
um, in the heart center. So like there's like they have to be seen as good. They have to be seen as like providing and helping and taking care of
Mm.
others.
Mhm.
But comparing that with the seven and the one, I feel like it's and I feel like it ties with this the sandcastle analogy that you were using. Like you're building something very specific ideal.
Mhm.
Because both seven and one are frustrated, so they both chase an ideal. Um, so I'm just toying with it here. I'm really not sure, but do you think you'd see that like as your overlay?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I definitely like for as much as I've always been anti like toxic positivity, but I think that's like the six making sure that it's stable is definitely it's like definitely six wing seven, not seven wing six, right? Like it's like it has to be stable. We have to make sure it's secure. We have to be safe. But it's definitely six wing seven and not six wing five in that like, but it's for the like that positivity definitely comes out in it, right? Like it's like, okay, this is gonna be hard but we can work through it, right? And I definitely think, and like you said, with that double positive on the overlay is definitely, and I think that resonates very well with the FE also, and I think maybe even, I don't know what it is that's giving it that oomph with the like the masculine FE, right? Like, but it's like, this is going to be hard, guys. We're going to walk through hell, but we're going to walk through hell together, you know?
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's always there's always that underpinning of like, but we're gonna get to the other side. There's never the like, you know, allowing it to go into the deep darkness of it, right? Like there's no, I don't know if like that's the depth of four or whatever, but it's like, yeah, I'm sorry, but like yeah, I'm a you know, it's my Leo rising coming out, like I'm the sun, I've got brightness in me. I can't
Yeah.
help it. As much as I think that's stupid. I can't help but there's brightness in me, right? Like, but when you say the having to be good thing, that's
Hmm.
interesting because that is definitely something that like I've done a lot of growth and insight has come recently from going into sort of like darker energies and even like to a point where like definitely at this point I feel like kind of like leaning amoral, right? Like I don't necessarily see what the point of morality is. Um I kind of I struggle with like why is morality even a thing? So like whether or not to be good or not is not necessarily the thing, but good enough.
Hmm.
Me personally being good enough to stand with everyone else, that's one thing. But to be good versus like evil is like I'm just like so over that whole concept. In fact, like again, like I said, like there's lots of like darker energies that I'm getting into right now, or whether it's in deity work and things like that, that I'm just like really kind of like
Hmm.
exploring what it means to sort of like in some circles you call it like the wild woman, you know what I mean, like really
Hmm.
kind of delving into that. Well, what if like your insides were just you know what if you
Hmm.
were splayed, dying on the ground, laugh till the end.
That has to be the six, honestly. I keep seeing this with sixes. It's like, because they're
Yeah.
also a superego type, so they're also concerned with morality. However, since six splits, I think they try to be seen as mean and nice at the same time. So I feel like they're gonna explore both their good and their bad side at different
Mm,
points.
Mhm.
And I also relate to that. I relate very strongly to that with the
Yeah?
like looking into my darkness and trying to see both as me instead of rejecting one
Mhm.
and only identifying with the other, and then everybody else knowing about the dark side and I don't know about it.
Right.
That's the last thing I want. So I feel like, yeah, I do think it's connected to the six. Um, so I'm curious, like how that would conflict with the two wing, because if the two wings basically rejecting the dark, and it's only wanting to see, like only wanting to be the image of your light side,
Mhm.
um, how do you reconcile that? Like you can see both, like your dark side, but also identify with only the light at some points.
Mhm. There's definitely a dichotomy there, and I think that's part of what um I'm working through now. So I don't know that I fully have the full answer to that yet. Um, ooh, ask it one more time just so I can stall, because I'm
Okay,
getting
so
something.
all right, so essentially, with the six fix, we're able to like have our mind perceive both the light and the dark at the same time, in order to be more prepared for the um, like the actual difference between the two that may, get caught in translation and cause like problems. Um, how can I say that better? Like, um, if we're not aware of the accurate differences between things, then we may get fooled and make choices that do not respect those differences. And so it's good to like explore and mentalize through the good and the bad within everything. So that's like the six side. However, with the two side, two is a rejection type and is also positive. And so it's like rejecting anything that is not its specific offering. So two will want to like give somebody like this is who I am, this is my goodness. And it's because it's rejecting, it's gonna feel offended if somebody doesn't want to take exactly what they want to give. And so so that's like I'm curious, like when you have the six of being fully aware of the spectrum of the good and the bad, but then also identifying with only providing the good, I'm like, wait, this like a conflict with um like how you um okay, there's a conflict between what you're aware of and what you're identifying with. It's like you're
Mm,
aware of
yeah.
more than what you're putting into the box of what you're identifying with.
Yeah. I can't wait to rewatch this because I think there's a lot here. Because even like what you just said there, I mean, by the nature of what you just said, means that I have like a baked in blind spot there. So this will be really juicy to like dig into. But my first initial thoughts, I could go two ways. Then, um, on one hand, I think definitely that's where when you were describing, I was like, oh, that's where that sort of like split personality thing comes in for is like, she's like sweet until she's not.
Hmm.
Um, and it's like I'm like, yeah, like I don't know. I feel like there's like something in Wicked about it, like the Broadway show Wicked, and there's like songs about it, but it's like, okay, I'll be the villain. You want me to be the villain? I will be the villain. You don't want to, and that's exactly it. It's like I tried to help you.
Hmm.
Y- You don't want the help, so now I know exactly, and I don't know if this is the FE because I can find on the
Hmm.
spectrum and I can like smell people's FI. I'm like, I know exactly how to hurt you. And in
Hmm.
that moment, I will. And it's going to be like a sniper to your heart. And in the moment, it feels so good, but immediately afterwards, it feels so awful. Feels so
Mm.
awful afterwards. But like, yeah, I definitely know how to. I can be like the evil queen, like I can
That's another thing they also
do that.
mentioned that sixes can pick sides
Uh-huh.
with things like because they're aware of the good and the bad, they will pick the side that's I guess more safe or in that
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah, probably in that moment or what feels safe in that moment because it's a cowardly thing to do. It
Mm,
absolutely is a cowardly thing to do. Like I think and that is I think a core difference with it like what I'm seeing with like eights, right? Like it's like you don't even care like it's like you're not going to try to like do that cowardly like oh, I'm going to like, hurt you like mirror mirror on the wall like whatever. Like no, you don't even have to do that. Um I don't know. That feels like what it is. It feels when you look at it, when you turn at it, that whole like I'm gonna play the like I said, like I'm amoral, but like yeah, knowing that I'm gonna play the bad guy now. I'm gonna be the
mhm,
villain right now. It's just hiding. It's just like oh, this is where I can be safe. Where it's like that's where I don't know. I feel like
hmm,
yeah.
interesting.
It's not I don't feel like I don't know, maybe that is where I'm living. I definitely still have moments like that. That was one side of it, of being the villain. I forget what the other side was. I'll remember later maybe. Um,
Hmm. And then with the two-wing,
mhm.
like so how does it end up existing at the same time where you're like splitting and seeing both the good and the bad, but then also on a heart level providing mainly the good.
Well, it's like on one hand, and I don't know if this is accurate or not, but this is what it feels like. It's like I'm gonna stab you in the stomach, but then I'm gonna immediately hug you and bandage you up.
Oh, probably the masculine FE coming
Oh,
out.
which part? What, the stabbing you in the stomach or
Yeah,
the
like it's like
bandaging you up?
it's masculine tribe, but it's savior feeling.
Mhm.
Like yeah, it's like I like you're gonna play the antagonistic role with the masculine tribe, but
Mhm.
with
But I'm
feeling.
also gonna comfort you. I'm gonna
Yeah.
make sure it's okay, baby.
That's
Like, no one
interesting.
else is allowed to hurt you, but I will fucking torture you
There's
for your
actually a
own good.
question. There's a question in the comments. Somebody wants to know how are you seeing the difference between your masculine FE and then people that are feminine FE?
Oh, God, I really had a yeah. Um, you know, I had a really big bias before about it, about like, but I think it has more to do with I'll call it my demon three, right? Like my demon cheerleader. Is the cheerleader the
Hmm.
three wing too? Like specifically, I forget, doesn't somebody
Could
call
be.
it that?
Definitely
Anyway,
could be.
yeah, so like I'm very like anti like mean girls. Like it's like I'm like I don't want to be that at all, right? And I had a big bias around that's what feminine FE was. And that's why I was like so
Hmm.
happy that I was like masculine FE. Like if I got typed feminine FE, I think I would have had a much harder time with my type.
Hmm.
Honestly, I think that the masculine FE is what like sort of allowed me to sort of be okay with it. In fact, I thought I was masculine FE. I just thought I was a demon because of how it comes out.
Mm.
I thought I had Hulk syndrome, but like had they had they said sissy syndrome when before I got typed, I would be like, oh yeah, that's me.
Mm.
But yeah, I it's funny more so though now I see the difference. So twofold. One, I do definitely see like I think I am more willing to push on the value when I am clear what the values and the social rules are. I am more willing to push on those values in a
Hmm.
very direct, radical, honesty way, right? Like, not that it's my truth, not that it's my personal truth. I still get freaking weird about like sharing what I like and what I like, what my personal interests are, and all of that, my opinions, my logic. I don't trust my logic, right? But um,
Hmm.
when it comes to honesty, yeah, no, like I am going because it's important, and there's no like we can't beat around the bush here. It's like almost like we don't have time to beat around the bush here. Like I need to tell you something. I'm going to tell you it. I'm going to tell you it in like sometimes maybe not in a kind way, but like that's the energy behind it is like you need to know this. That's more important than how I'm saying it. Right. Like, and how I'm saying it. Yes, I'll do the like sort of vibey thing when I'm in the mode, when I'm in the zone. I will say it like in a way that I feel like people can receive it, but that doesn't always mean that I'm like dance. Sometimes I feel like feminine FE can just like be like too like get to the point. Like,
Hmm.
but what I do see with people with feminine FE versus and even if it's at the top, I definitely see the masculine TI in man. Is it like I'm like, that's delicious. Like you are like there you go. You know what you were thinking and you know how to say it. Like
Hmm.
like man, good for you. Like
Hmm.
I love masculine TI. Think it's amazing.
Hmm. That's interesting. Wow, I really see how the for you the masculine FE ties in a lot with the 617, like
Oh yeah.
social six, like in general
Uh-huh.
social
Yeah.
six. It feels like you're trying to warn the tribe about something social, I guess,
Mm,
because it's FE.
mhm.
Um, Although I would like you to expand more on like what are the specific things that you're trying to tell the tribe? Like what do you need them to know?
Oh, in any given moment? I don't know in any given moment. I'm so unconscious when that's happening. Let me think of an example. Okay, so like I hate talking about work too much in too great detail, but like, like when we're talking about like, how our employees are doing or something like that, or like, if we're all sort of like, how there's like you work at places and it's like there's and I do not work at a place that has like a company line that we like we look at ourselves at the company that I work for, which it's great. But it's like one of those sort of things. It's like if we're all sort of like in the room and like talking through like a process or something that we do, and oh, of course it's like this, or yeah, like our employees feel valued because of XYZ. And I'm like,
Mm,
yeah, but that's not actually happening. You know that, right?
hmm.
Like, do we actually want to change it, or do we want to like, it's just funny. It's like the Dr. Phil thing. You can't change what you don't acknowledge. And I know he's FESI, which fucking sucks. But he's not masculine FE, which is interesting.
Hmm.
I wonder if it's a masculine SI that's doing that. But it's that sort of thing.
Hmm.
It's when either somebody it's either when somebody's gonna get hurt or ostracized. Yeah,
Hmm.
I don't feel like I'm being specific enough for you.
I hear it though because I relate to the way that you're talking about it because it sounds very similar to my masculine SF consume, where it's
Mm,
like, well, if this is not grounded in like the gut experience, then it's not happening. So why would you
right.
believe something that's not even happening? You know, I I
Right,
kind of
right.
I feel like it's just that masculine SF
Oh, yeah.
tied to blasts, where it's like you're trying to get them to see the gut experience or
Yeah, it's very
something.
primal.
Hmm.
Very survival primal. Yeah, so it probably is the SF.
Hmm. Okay,
Yeah.
that's interesting. Okay. All right. So let's move into well, let's talk more about the nine wing one. So I was saying earlier with you, we were talking about this, but I feel like nines have some stereotypes attached to them, and I think
Mm.
it's
Hmm.
because a lot of the people that are type like core 9-wing 1, for whatever reason, they are like either savior feminine TE or masculine FI. They're just specifically on that axis.
Uh-huh.
And so people have this conception of that specific manifestation of it, which
Yeah.
can sometimes look like numbing out your feelings, just not registering the moment to just get through without having conflict.
Yeah.
But I think in your case, as a lead masculine FE, it's probably you're using the tool of 9-wing 1 probably totally different than
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
people on that axis.
Yeah. I'm precisely merging,
Mm,
with the energy of it all, right? And in fact, when you say numbing out the feeling, it is interesting that you're saying that that's coming from a lot of TEFI access, because for me, I make myself disappear. I make
mm,
my, like, who I am, my ident like, I don't let it be when I'm in the 9 state, I am not I am existing as, like, sort of like a fog. Like, I am in the
mm,
ether. I am the ether. Like, I am
mm,
not, it's like that TI is nowhere. Like, there is, like, that is
mm,
not anywhere. Like, that is back there, and I am in the ether. And I will move with and fill in the blanks of whatever is missing in the, I know I keep
mm,
saying ether, but it's like there's a space, there's a sound, there's a smell, there's there's an environment in which I am baked into, you know?
I'm curious when you say ether, like how do you mean that? Like you're like it's like a spiritual state?
Yeah, 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 like yeah, in spirit. Yeah.
Mm,
Like, like the okay, maybe because I haven't talked about this, right? Like, so like like everything, like the all that is, right? Like, whereas like if you're talking about like six is like the main duality, right? Like true ultimate nineness is like the, from what I understand and am associating it with, is the duality of non-duality and duality, right? And the oneness of it. Like all is one, everyone is all. Um
oh,
yeah.
but it's on a body level, so mm,
Yeah, and that's what it's so weird too, because it's like my being, my essence, my identity is gone, and my
mm,
body is everything.
mm,
All that is, all
interesting.
that has been, all that will be.
Does it feel like a flow state where you just kind of go with whatever is um pulling you?
It feels like a trance state.
Ah,
Yeah.
hmm,
Yeah.
hmm,
It feels ecstatic, you know?
hmm. Interesting. Because you also have a line to 9 on your core 6, which is
Oh, I forgot
described
about the
as
lines.
they're actually very important
Yeah.
because
Totally
like
forgot about that.
I'm super fascinated by the lines because just looking at them, I see how it's like an extra card that you have in your deck.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the
Except I'm a
whole
Bermuda, so it's like I like the lines
yeah.
don't take me anywhere. You know? Like I
Well,
remember learning about that. I was like, where's my way out? It's got to be through the wings. And actually, I
that's
think
the
it's the
thing.
instincts. It's the
No,
instinct.
absolutely. Yeah, with the Bermuda, it is gonna be like using the same card, but just little different this time,
Mm.
or reverse, or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, so, but like the line from 6 to 9 is seen as like a spiritual state,
Mm-hmm.
where they
Yeah.
they see like instead of feel like looking at negative possibilities and like trying to work it out mentally and stuff. With the line to 9, they just have the clarity. It's
Mhm.
like, oh,
Mhm.
it's just
It's
there.
full like third eye, crown chakra. Mhm.
So that's really interesting because not only are you having that line to nine on the core, but there's nine secondaries. So it's like it's that's always kind of there, I guess.
Yeah. 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 I definitely and as I lean into, my especially like my NF demon, right? And as I'm allowing myself to do my consume, right? Like I am allowing myself to be in that mode and I'm finding where that is where my power and my magic is. Um, ooh, there's a daddy long leg on my wall. Love daddy long legs. Anyway, spiders eat the other bugs. I don't mind spiders. I mean, if it was right here, I'd be screaming for my husband, but anyway, sorry.
Hmm.
What were you saying?
Yeah, so yeah, the you have the line to nine, you have the nine secondary with the one wing, which tends to refine the nine. So like the difference between nine wing one and nine wing eight is nine wing one is like with the one wing, it's trying to compact itself even
Mm,
further with rules. So it puts a little more pressure on itself to be like invisible. Um, Whereas with the nine wing eight, they use the eight wing in order to be even more like lazy. So it
mm,
has like it
mhm.
has like that pothead vibe where it's like aggressively relaxed.
Yeah, right, right,
Yeah. So
right.
that's basically the difference. One is more minimized, like more like
Uh-huh,
um postured is a word
uh-huh.
for it. And then with the nine wing eight, it's more like just like laid back, aggressively relaxed and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, and it's interesting because, like, like some people have had me at like a nine wing eight, have my nine wing at an eight and not a one, and I've thought through both of them, and I think, um, I don't know, I don't know.
Hmm.
I think that when you describe it as the pressure to disappear, I definitely think that doubled down with my feminine TI at the bottom. I think that like it's so easy for me to disappear
Hmm.
if needed. If the situation calls for it, I can absolutely disappear. I mean, I think it can be dangerous because that's when a swing can start to form, right? That's where in the OP land, like the tidal wave can start to form and there can start to be a swing. And then when I swing, the hammer that I use is the masculine SF hammer, right?
Hmm.
Like that's the tool that I use to swing um to protect
Hmm.
that little baby TI that has been disappearing for the sake of spirit. Um
Hmm.
but I think again it goes into that presence. The more I can be content with and ecstatic about the presence itself, I don't feel like I'm disappearing and negating myself, but that is actually where my power and my magic and my, essence is. Like that is what I can do for the world. That is me in my truest form. It's
Hmm.
not me disappearing, negating myself. It is me using what I have to give. Maybe that's two coming out, right? Like maybe I'm
Yeah.
changing my perspective of what it is that I have to give to the world so that I can stay, you know,
Hmm.
okay with it and not have to swing
Interesting.
and lash out afterwards because I've
Hmm.
negated myself. I've sort of like worked myself up into this um I've justified it. I've mentally justified it by that like this is I am deciding to be in this. Like this is part of my nature. I'm not negating myself. I am okay with this. This is who I am. This is how I
Hmm.
am. And that
I
is
see.
okay because that is true for me. That is what I am,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. No, that makes sense to me, personally. Um, hmm. Okay. So I'm curious. I do want to touch on the one wing a little bit because so one is it's also another frustrated type. So frustration, they're chasing an ideal. In this case, there's like a very specific way to like line your body. Like a specific way to do things. It's like with like specific rules.
Ooh.
Um, so like I the way I think of it, like with nine, it's following motion, it's just following the gravity.
Uh-huh.
With eight, it's like assertive, so it's like it's the kinesthetic motion um, that is leading everything that is actually following it. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? But
Yeah.
then with one, it's like it's putting rules to physics. Like
Yeah.
there's gonna be rules to it. Like we are gonna move, but it's gonna be in this order.
Yeah.
Um, it's not necessarily leading; it's just putting the rules. So with nine wing one, sometimes the one wing will come out where, like, if they're being like pushed too far, like if they're following too far, and they're like, nope, they'll just kind of like just like stiffen up and like
Yeah.
put the rules. Like, nope,
Yeah.
these are gonna be the boundaries. It's not forceful about it, but it's like stiff
Yeah.
with that. Do you see that
Uh,
ever coming out?
oh, for sure. Yeah, and that's I think again before how I was talking with like, and I think part of this is the whether it be the masculine blast or also the six as well. Like that is definitely it's not just strict. Like it is gonna come out. It is gonna come out. It's gonna be like these are the rules. I set the rules. This is gonna be safe. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, absolutely. In an unhealthy state, that is absolutely what I'm doing. I have been finding, and also, um, just even internally, not externally, but like, I used to get into like the magical thinking OCD land, and I don't know how much this overlaps with my SI, right?
Hmm.
Double activated SI savior. But uh, I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted by my husband. I hope he's not too loud on here. Is he too loud on here? You can't hear him. Okay.
No,
Um,
no.
good, 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 good headset. Um, but
Just
where
very
it's like almost
slightly.
like okay, good. Um, love his voice. But like it's like almost like where I get into my mind if I'm like highly stressed out or especially when I used to be, I'd have to like line things up a very certain way. And if like I didn't, like in my mind, I'm like, it's like don't step on a crack or you're gonna break your mother's back type of a thing. But it's like in my mind, I'm doing this thing where it's like if I don't line this up exactly like this, like somebody's gonna die. Like it's like like that sort of a thing. But um as I've been relaxing into things, I've realized that and I've been looking into chaos magic, right? And just even the
Hmm.
concepts behind chaos magic. It's a lot of deconditioning and like not getting stuck on dogma and everything like that. But the other thing is that it's like, um, I think that I have that tool available, right? I can line things up, right? Which
Hmm.
means I can relax about it because whatever it is, whatever I have at my disposal, I know I can pull out of the ether and line it up and make it
Hmm.
work, you know? And realizing that I have that in me is getting me more prepared to be able to, at least in my heart, to be able to be like, okay, it's okay. I don't have to like freak out and set the rules because I actually have the nature within me to line it up so that so that there is still harmony, right?
Hmm.
It's very interesting. It's a very peaceful place to be, and it's very
Hmm.
fantastic. It's just fantastic. But yeah,
Wow.
no, in an unhealthy state, and when I'm not, and I've been doing where I just went. I was telling you about this before. I just like went to a class, and I've been doing lots of like actual practiced meditation. Um, and grounding techniques and cleansing techniques and removing that which does not belong to me and then grounding and then protecting my energy. Like so, I don't know. Things are a lot different recently.
Hmm. Well, that is a lot of body language, like anything to do with like owning your agenda, not wanting to be controlled, wanting to set rules
Hmm.
for the agenda. That's very body language, and I do see that one wing is like you use it a lot. It seems like it doesn't seem like
Hmm.
it's mute or anything like that. So that's interesting. I have
Well,
heard
how
that
much? Oh,
I have heard that the nine can like kind of attach to the wing sometimes.
mm,
So like especially like nine wing eights for some reason they attach to their eight wing and they get like very reactive. They're like, oh well, I deserve to be reactive because I've shut up this whole time and like that kind of thing.
oh, well, I could definitely do that too. Yeah, but
But I see you do it with the one wing, with like
mm.
setting the rules and stuff like that.
Where do you see it? Like, where do you see it being the OI versus the one wing? I'm curious.
I think that yeah, I think they probably in your case
Hmm.
are the same thing. Um, Perhaps the nine wing one's a little more attached to your sleep, whereas your six wing
Mm-hmm.
seven is a little more attached to the blasts. That's kind of
Yeah,
what I'm seeing.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, no idea where we're gonna see the three wing two, where that's gonna come out. So I'm curious. And I'm curious which one is attached to your consume. I almost feel like maybe your line to nine is your consume, maybe. Um, I'm not
Hmm.
sure. I have no idea.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Hmm.
I definitely think the demon NE. Well, I think the feminine NE definitely has some overlap for me with the nine or the line to nine, right? And especially with the
Hmm.
double observing. I think, um, but the NE in general, the fact that it's like single activated NE, and it's sort of like my worst function, I guess, right outside of like my bottom function, right? It's like
It
the
should
one
be
I'm
the
gonna like
hardest.
yeah, yeah, or like my known enemy.
Hmm.
Like I call it like I know people call the third animal the hobby animal, but like I refer to it as like, the demon I know. It's like the demon I'm aware of.
Yeah.
Um you know,
That's so
it's the
funny.
one before the blind spot. It's the one that you feel like you're facing all the time.
Hmm.
But I think that has a lot of overlap with my sex blind.
Hmm.
I think my play has a lot of overlap with my sex blind. And that's why I
Sex
think
blind.
also what? Is that not how you say it?
Sexual blind, but sex blind is funnier, so I like that.
Gender neutral. Sexual blind. Um anyway, uh what was I gonna say? Yeah, I think that's why too that for a while I was contemplating, whether I'm really demon play, but I think I see the demon consume, right? In multiple different ways. But and I think the insight and the growth that I can get can be looked at from a sexual blind space rather
Hmm.
than a play demon space, right? Because but again, it's all about being open to the OE. Um,
Hmm.
and that thing about like the sandcastles that I was saying before.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That
we
that's also a good thing to bring up here. The sexual blind. It's how do you see that playing out? Because um, nine is seen as connected to the sexual instinct because it's kind of
mhm,
like merging and like in that trance state, which can kind of it's the energy is like related to the sexual instinct. So each of the numbers are like they have the flavor of a specific instinctual stacking or the instinct themselves.
mhm,
For
mhm,
nine, it's sexual. For six, it's self-pres. For three, it's social. And then every other the hexad numbers are stackings.
Yeah.
Um, so, but in this case, you have sexual blind, but you have this nine fix.
Hmm.
I'm curious, like, what is your relationship with the sexual instinct, um, like so far?
Yeah, and I think it plays into like the Nine Wing one as well, right? Is that like, and even I'll speak to it. This is gonna sound so crazy, but it's how I've one of the ways that I've come to this realization. So I had sort of a little bit of a channeled kind of experience, a Baba Yaga experience, where I got some information, and it was just like I got this sentence where it's like, oh, you think you can deal with pain, or you think you like pain, but you only like pain that you can control. Like,
Hmm.
it's when it's out of control that you can't deal with it. Like, you
Hmm.
think you can endure, but
Mm,
you can endure when it's lined up. Try
mm,
enduring when when you are completely in the unknown, the void of, like, so it's like when I'm merging in the nine, I am merging and I am everything, right?
mm,
The sexual instinct blind is more of um, it's a void. It feels like, and I think the sixth fear goes into that too, right? It feels like I will absolutely, completely lose my body. Um,
mm,
like and I like how, like, like in John's book, where he's like talking about, like, if I'm too unstable, I'll ostracize people, right?
mhm,
And that had been something, like, initially one of the first things I was really contemplating, like, I am not like, telling myself I am not responsible for making other people comfortable, which I know plays into the FE thing as well, right? But like being able to let go of that, being able to let go of, like, that's the first step, and being able to let go of the fear of letting go of the reins of that first instinct a little bit, right?
mm,
Like, it's okay to ostracize people a little bit, or that not everybody's going to be comfortable. It's okay, the world will still go everything, and that it all comes down to being present again, right? Like, in the moment, everything is exactly as it should be, can be, everything is perfect in the now, right?
mm,
And letting go of that fear, is allowing me to sort of step in and explore the sexual instinct. It feels like an exploration, feels very much tied to that any, right? It feels
mm,
like more of an exploration and a proactive sort of, like, even like people have talked to me before about how consume is more proactive than I think that it is. I think, though, for me, consume really is more of a receptive kind of energy, because I think probably because it's feminine, and not so much a proactive thing. I think my consume is more overlaid with my nine. But so for the sexual instinct, I think that has to do way more with my play, right? Um, and being afraid of, like, everything that could go wrong, trying to over control everything, letting go of that control,
mm.
and
I
and
see.
seeing the beauty in the um
Mm,
in what can happen, in the seeing the beauty and the possibility and the surprise.
mhm,
um
mm.
Again, I know that's the double positive coming out in that language, because I'm sure there's some, like, sort of like depth there that I'm completely missing.
No,
I'm
I
missing
do
the
see
hungry
it.
ghost.
I do see the like all these parts working together. I don't know why I'm surprised, but the one wing is actually very strong. It's very apparent in your
Mm,
language. Like
mm.
it's not purely nine. It's like there's definitely a lot of one in there. Um, and
It's probably
I don't
so
know.
pathetic sounding.
I just don't know if it's because it's just body language as well. But yeah, it just seemed like, and maybe it's also the overlay coming through as well. Maybe you're like speaking through the overlay because sometimes we
Mm.
do that. I know I do. I start 974 sometimes. But like, yeah, I do see all these parts coming out. Now let's just go to the three wing two. It's seen as like a life coach energy, where like they kind of like coach people.
Mm,
Tony Robbins is a three wing two. Ed Milet is three wing two. So they have like this very like guru, like I'm successful and I'm gonna help you, but you just have to take my help because the two is a rejection type. So
mm-hmm.
you have to take my help if you want my success.
Yeah.
Um,
I,
do you see that? Like, do you ever get into that state where you just start guiding people, giving them advice, counseling them, stuff like that?
yeah, I guess so. I I guess so. Like when you say it, I'm like, ugh, I like have no interest in that. But like I'm like even thinking about like I don't know.
Mm,
Like even like I don't think she would mind me saying it, but like my sister, she's always coming to be through like help with her budget and things like that, and just like and I get in moments where that speaking through God comes through me or whatever, and you know
mm,
I'm trying to when I'm talking about it, I'm thinking through whether or not I get annoyed at people not taking my advice, and I think that is something that can come up um in a in a in a not conscious state, right? I think I can
mm,
do that. I think I can be very like, oh, I'm gonna spend a lot of energy. I think the sleep savior too, like, really gets pissed off. Like, I'm gonna spend a lot of energy and really pour my heart out to you to help you see a new path, and you're gonna fucking ignore me? Like,
mm,
okay, how's that working for you? Like, fine, have a nice life, go have fun, stay unconscious.
mhm.
I feel like in my head I'm doing the Dave double uh, middle finger thing. You know,
Yeah, he
like
also has three wing too, so that's interesting.
yeah,
Um,
like fine, have fun with
I
that.
do get hints of that with him too.
Yeah,
Huh.
it's like I just
Mm.
spent a lot of time and effort that I didn't necessarily have. If you weren't going to take my advice, like I wish you would have told me that before. I wouldn't. I would have half-assed it.
Uh,
Fuck you for making me spend my energy on you. Like you know what I mean? Like that kind of a feeling in the
hmm.
when I'm in the state where I'm like not allowing all that is and all that, whatever, being in a harmony
Well,
state.
I am curious because with the two wing, it is a positive, like it's pretty positive in terms of like when they share emotions, it'll tend to be on the positive side. Not that they can't share negative emotions, it will just be different than people that have four in the heart
Mm,
space. Because like with four, it's like if you can kind of imagine, like imagine if the sky was split in half, where half of it's dark, half of it is light.
mhm.
With the four, they're just constantly looking at the dark side. So they're
Mhm.
always describing the suffering, describing the pain, describing, the negative side of things. Whereas with two, it's always describing the good half, like how like the positive outlook on the emotional side and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
how do you
Yeah, and
kind
I
of
don't
see
know.
that?
Yeah, it would be interesting to see from an outside perspective if I'm describing the positive or the negative, but like it feels internally like I'm facing the negative all the time. I wrote a poem about it, about how like I feel like I'm standing at the gates of hell all the time and I'm fighting off all of the monsters, right? But it's all for
Mm,
the sake of like, and I think I'm being brave, but I'm not. I'm not actually. It's like that cowardly thing again, right? Like it's that I'm fighting off all the monsters. I'm cutting off all these heads of these things that are like actually beautiful creatures. Um, and so I'm not actually looking at the darkness. I have my eyes closed. and fighting through the darkness, trying to get to the light, and always being afraid to leave the darkness because I can't. I have to protect everybody from what is in there, right? And it's like,
Mm,
so I guess I am kind of facing the light in a way because I'm protect. I feel like I'm protecting everybody from that darkness when instead of like facing the darkness and understanding the darkness and merging with the darkness itself, understanding that that's part of what can be merged in, you know,
mm,
um, and understanding the
mm,
beauty in that side as well, but not actually looking at it, just chopping off their heads left and right blindly,
mm.
trying to not let them out of hell.
Well, that's interesting. I guess because, well, maybe because your core is six and six
Mhm.
is negative, so maybe it's like coming through that lens.
Probably.
Might be from that.
I mean, the 2 is, like, in the 3 like, it's my last fix, my last wing on my last fix, it's really down there, so, like,
Hmm.
I definitely think I feel like I see it from, like if it's, like, on a circle, I definitely feel like I see it in a mirror, like, it's almost like I'm getting all of the negative aspects of it, or I'm, like,
Hmm.
anti it, I'm like, "No, we don't go over there," and maybe that's, again, the 6 duality is saying good and bad thing, maybe that's how the good and bad thing is coming out for me.
Yeah. Wow. But I feel very surprised here because,
Oh, really? Maybe I'm
like
lying to myself.
no, no, no. It's mainly because because you're masculine FE. I feel like in your case, having the two all the way in the back, the as back as it can be,
Right.
it's like you are coming from that like FE like language, but everything in front of it um, is like more on the realistic side.
Mhm.
Because six is a reality number, and three is also another reality number. So there's like double reality there. So
Mhm.
it's like a very grounded FE
Mhm. Mhm.
instead of like, I mean, some FEs are like a little more fluffy.
Yeah.
Like some people say, like especially feminine FE kind of lie to you sometimes
Mm.
um, for the vibe's sake. I don't think that we would probably get that from you with your setup and the
Mm-mm.
masculine FE. So,
No, I won't necessarily give the like, I will still I'm sorry if I interrupt you, but, like,
no,
it's
no.
not that like, I will still, like, do some, like, sort of, like, strategy there in, like, when I'm conscious enough, right? Like, when I'm in my zone. Like, I will build the things to explain, like, to get people because it's not about telling people how you think it in your head. It's about actually moving people to where you need them to move or how it's about having people accept the truth that you're trying to give them,
Hmm.
which is
Okay.
sometimes something that you have to build towards. But you're right, like, it's not fluffy in that I'm afraid to hurt their feelings. It's not that. It's that I know that the way in which I have to say it for them to actually hear it and have it work into their being, I have to build to it. So, like, if there is, like, lying coming out of me, it's like it's that. It's because I'm building to this truth that this understanding that they're gonna have, but
Hmm.
not in a, "I'm afraid you're gonna get upset or angry or cry." Like, I'm not afraid of that. Like, we will there will be tears. There may be
I
blood,
see.
but
So it's like
I have Band-Aids and tissues.
you're building up the other person's emotional state so then they can receive the slice.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Mhm.
I see.
Yeah,
Ah,
yeah.
okay. Wow, that's interesting because it's very minimal too going on in that.
That's very what?
There's a very minimal amount of two energy in here. Like I barely see it actually. I'm like trying to look for
Really?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I hmm,
Mm.
hmm. I mean, when I care about somebody, I go into that, like, I can definitely get into that, I know Stockholm isn't. It's one of my like somewhere in my numbers, right? Like the 269, right? Like I can because the six
Yeah.
nine is so that's what it is too. Because I think the 6 9 is so strong in my chart
Hmm.
that when the two comes out, it's gonna mix with the 6 and the 9, right? So it's gonna
Hmm.
if it does come out, it's gonna come out in that like sort of like Stockholmy type of a way where it's like
I could see that.
kind of, you know,
Hmm.
um servant vibes, you know?
Yeah. No, I could see that. Like I relate. Like when my four comes out, I feel like kind of triple reactive sometimes. It
Mm.
does happen occasionally. So I do think, yeah, I think that's a thing. I also noticed you have because you have the seven wing on the front, your adjacent is DJ.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so do you relate to like being very like party vibes?
Not party vibes, but like, you know, like hammock, like let's just chill, like everything's cool, like it's a like the whole thing about like everybody's clothes can come off and it would be fine, like that sort of a thing, like in the appropriate 6-1 setting.
Mhm.
The as long as it's in a safe environment, it's like, and then that's when like I feel like you know, I don't know, like that's where the witchy vibes come out. Like I just feel like I can get into my like NF play space and like
Mhm.
just like really like kind of like super deeply primal feminine energy, like just like, you know,
Hmm.
light some incense, get some good music going, have really good food, like,
More
I don't know.
OE.
So, but what?
Uh, you get more OE in that state, I think.
I definitely do. Yeah, like and it's just like we're vibing. But it's not like party vibe like I don't know, when I think party vibe I think like you know, that's not the party vibe. Party vibe for me is like, Morocco, like
Hmm.
it's very SP, right? Like it's a very SP flavored. That's what it is, I think. It's very SP flavor. It's very contraflow, kind of like that
Hmm.
kind of party vibe. Very
Interesting.
yummy, kind of
That is so
overcast
interesting
day.
because you're doing the social thing right now with you're able to give a name to these like things that people know socially.
Oh,
Like
really?
you're yeah, that what you just did with like you give it a name, like very like this ish and this ish.
Mm, that's funny. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
Everything's like yeah, that's the SINE, I think.
hmm. Interesting.
I don't know. What do
Well,
you think? Like, is that like, am I misunderstanding it or?
I do think that that is your DJ. I'm just a little surprised because, like you said, it does kind of feel a little SP-ish,
Hmm.
like self-prezi, and also it does feel um, kind of reminds me of SF Consume personally,
Mm.
whereas like
Well,
you're
it
just
is
kind of
masculine
enjoying.
SF. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like I could kind of see you like smoking a cigarette or like
Yeah. Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
some tarot cards, like just some chill
Oh, yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Mm,
Mm. I love that.
mm,
And and that sort of thing, like good music and stuff, can absolutely get me in that altered state. I could get in an altered state with music and smells and stuff like that. I don't um anything more than that is not an altered state that I need to be in.
mm. Interesting.
It's too much of an altered state. Like I can
Yeah.
already
There's some DJs they do a lot of drugs. Like crazy things, especially suppress DJs or social sexuals, especially.
I, baby, I got NT feminine consume at the bottom. Once I go off, I am not here. I am literally in like the 18th dimension.
Oh.
Okay, so like I don't need any help.
I relate to that.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, yeah.
that outer
I can't
space one
even.
is
I cannot even smoke weed because it like my brain just gets way too NT in like a scary way. I don't know if you relate to that.
yes, yes,
It's
yes.
way too much.
It
Yeah,
is it is way too much. I have to be very careful.
yeah. Very sensitive with NT stuff.
Yeah.
Um, okay, let's see. I think we've basically covered everything with Enneagram. We've already covered most of the OP stuff, but let's run through it quickly and
Okay.
try to just link things back to what we've already said. Um, all right, so your lead masculine FE, we think that
Hmm?
that's pretty tied with social six. And the fact that you're two extremely last, and then like the one wing is like kind of your masculine SI maybe.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, for me.
And then let's see, where do you think like the sleep ties into your Enneagram type?
Where was my sleep? I think my sleep is a lot of my SP, right? My SP
Hmm.
second.
Yeah.
Um, I think that, and I think I think there's some six and the 6 9. I think that has to do with some of my sleep. I don't. I'm still. I have still have such a hard time seeing my three. Um,
Hmm.
I don't know where my three is, but I know we haven't gotten there yet. But um, yeah, I think. Oh, I love like that whole like vibe I was talking. Maybe my sleep is the DJ because it's just like I want to gobble my sleep up. I just love my sleep.
It felt a little play consumed to me, the TJ thing, because it's like
Oh,
you're in a vibe. It's like you're in a vibe and you're thinking about like interesting things you can consume.
oh, okay. That's good to know because that's like I'm like skib last.
So that's
What
interesting.
is it?
I
Am I a
guess
true douchebag or a pure douchebag? I always forget.
I'm just kind of guessing that maybe because your OE is not last in your grant stack, that maybe it's easier to bring it up, and then
Hmm.
that's why the DJ is your adjacent maybe.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So maybe that. Um, hmm.
And it is very
The
much a once the structure is there, then it's safe to play. You know.
hmm.
Um,
I'm wondering if you think the nine fix is tied to your consume.
I think so, especially because it's the feminine NT, right?
Hmm.
And it's very like, you know, it's interesting. I feel like, yeah, yeah, probably, yeah, because it's like it's got the disappearing nature of the feminine TI, and also it's got the like sort of merging everything, all that is sort of quantum vibe of the feminine NE.
Hmm.
So it's definitely, I think my nine definitely resonates well with my NT. I feel like my NT is very like NF-ish, right?
Hmm.
Like,
Hmm.
like it's got like a very, and I think it's because it's feminine. I really think there's like that's where, you know,
And
I don't
like
know. I
the lead F too. Yeah.
Right, exactly. I think maybe having that SF savior kind of, once that SF and that NT start working together, is just like it's like a very
Hmm.
delicious mix.
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm going off. I'm being very crazy right now. What am I doing?
and that's probably like how it becomes the DJ, like part of the DJ,
Yeah,
like making it like NF ish.
yeah.
Interesting.
Mm,
And we still gotta like try to tie in the three to your OP type. Um, I'm not sure. Let me think. Um,
hmm,
three is a competency type, so it wants to be appear like it's capable of
mm.
achieving whatever that it says it's gonna do. It's like I can do this. Like it's the image of I'm capable of doing this. Um,
Oh, so yeah, so there's probably some of that in my sleep then, that or at least that's where, or the demon TI, right? Because it's definitely, and the proving yourself of the six, that's where it's the proving myself comes in at, because it's like I constantly, I mean, even like, and why also I feel like I thought that I was like NF last, right? Like
mhm,
the ST is so strong because, or like I am doing the, like I said, I run an IT department, right? Like I am proving upon proving upon proving that I am capable of doing the thinking.
mm,
Like it's so much so that I was so anti, and that's why, like, again, I had that bad bias against especially feminine FE, because I had this like sort of cheerleader thing in my head of like, if I'm that means I'm stupid, and I need to show everybody, I need to make sure everybody understands that I'm not,
mm.
you know.
That makes sense. I could see that. Like the ST second is why you have a three fix instead of a two fix, maybe
Maybe. Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, something like
Hmm,
that. Maybe. For
interesting.
me, right? Right?
Yeah,
These
yeah.
things sort of just like,
It'll
there's
change
like,
with the person. Yeah,
yeah, there's like 7,700 Enneagram types, and then
it's a
512, so
lot.
multiply that. So like there's like
10
lots of
million.
lots of
Yeah,
lots of lots of
yeah,
options.
quite a lot. Now, I do want to ask you briefly, what social type do you think you are?
So, oh, I think they're bullshit. I think they're absolutely bullshit. It's one of the reasons that I was like, oh yeah, I'm done with this now. I have more interesting things to go look up. I have like, I Ching stuff that I'm working on. I'm
Mhm,
interested in human design and things like that. And yeah, I think social types are bullshit, but I'm getting into astrology again. So to each his own. Um I don't think that they're flushed out enough, and I don't think that they're true coins. I think, especially like, and I know a lot of people, who might be watching this in the EU know about the Michael chart thing, right? Like, so I'm an old soul in Michael charts, right? And I think that the young soul has a lot of resonance with, like what they're talking about, like with the ego driven one, right? And the um mature soul is very much relationship based. So I think the mature soul is very much on the resonance of like the friends, right? But I
mhm,
don't I don't care about either. So I don't know if I like I was probably like an IJ3, right? Like so like but at the same time, like it's like I'm like I've always felt like that reluctant leader sort of a thing, right? Like you know,
mhm.
and I definitely have a friends problem.
Also,
I don't have any.
oh,
Even like remember, I don't know if you know about the like you've probably done the cube test, right? For like
yes, yes, I have.
yeah, right? Yeah. And like you're supposed to think about like the flowers in the field and everything. And they were like, and somebody's giving me I was like, there's no flowers. And then
Oh,
turns out flowers are your like there were none. It wasn't like scattered, there were
oh my
none.
God, I had a desert.
And you had a desert. Yeah. And my ladder was like, a little walk away, but it was like I couldn't see the top of it. It just went up to heaven. Um
Oh,
and but I was resentful of the ladder. It's
Really?
like, I don't understand why there's a ladder here. Like, it's going up to heaven. I can't see the top of it, but I don't want the ladder. Fuck you for making me put a ladder in this beautiful field. Like,
Mm. Oh my God.
so I just like I feel like I've been on this earth for a millennia, and
Mm.
just done with it all. I don't want work. I don't want friends. I don't want any of it. I just want to go sit in my garden now. Like, can I just be the EJ in the forest now? I'm
Mm.
tired. Yeah. So I don't know. I just what. Yeah, so
Mm.
that's what I think about it. I could argue that I'm every single one of them, but I probably don't understand it that well enough yet. But I don't think that they fully like understand what it is either. You know,
Mm.
and also what is it going to tell me? What is it? What truth? What insight? What growth is it going to give me that I'm not already getting from other things?
Yeah.
So, and if anything, it would be the you know get better at friendships thing. So one way, shape, or form, I definitely have a friend problem, right? But
Hmm.
I know that already. I don't need to
Hmm.
get social type demon friends to whatever.
Yeah, to reflect on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Plus, it feels like again, it's like the thing that like when I said in the EU thing, I was like, oh God, I can see, and maybe that's the sixth thing, right? Like I can see the community is gonna like this is gonna be the new thing of like, oh, this is what I am, like,
Yeah.
put my social label on me, like fuck off.
No, I get you.
I'm I'm sorry, I just
That bothered me
I
about it too. I was like, is this just like, now they want numbers because they interviewed Enneagram, so now they want numbers too?
no. Yeah, no, I don't think that. I mean, I think it sounds like it's something that has been there in the background for them. They're starting now. The SE is getting gathered into an NI. Like it makes sense. I understand why it has come to this. It's just not something that's
Yeah,
interesting to me. So
I hear you.
it's like,
No, like, no, I get you. Like, it's definitely a very simplified, distilled thing, and so I felt like it just summarizes people's Enneagram type,
mm.
in a lot of ways. Like,
Oh, you think so?
yeah, because for one reason or another, there have just been so many different number ones that are Kyle's, in
Mm.
Enneagram. And then like you'll see
Hmm.
other links as well, like a lot of Stockholms are threes,
Mm.
um, a lot of like friend saviors are like Bermudas, stuff like that.
Mm.
But not all the time. There's still,
Hmm.
sometimes Kyle's are number twos. But like it's only ever one or two that I've seen so far, and it's been a lot of them. So there's like this clustering is what I'm trying to say.
What's
And
the INFJ of the social types right now? I haven't been tracking it
to be
because that's
honest,
what
I
I am.
I think it's four.
Oh, it's four, really? People
Honestly,
want to be the
I've
four?
mostly
That's the
seen.
socially valued one?
I've only seen one, two, and three the most. Um,
Oh, we're
yeah,
misunderstanding. I'm not talking about which one is the actual rarest. I'm talking about which one does everybody want to be?
a two.
A two. Mm.
Yeah. Because they're like very
Oh,
responsible. They have friends second,
right.
flex third. They're just missing specialize. So they're like
Yeah, and who
they
cares
get
about specializing?
they just get success more easily. People like them. It's like really balanced. So
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I'm upset. I'm not a two, honestly.
yeah.
A little bit. Like like I'm a one, but like one's pretty misunderstood. People think that they can't be nice. That's not true.
Mm.
Shannon is a one. She can be nice. Of course, she can be nice. She's very nice actually.
Well, I'm
But
sure they'll put out a whole bunch of videos talking about how twos suck if they haven't
yeah,
already, be so that they'll try to balance
I'm
out
waiting
that.
for it.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Like, that's the pattern. That's the wave here. Like, it's just like I've seen the story before. It's like,
Yeah.
It's like a SVU episode.
Here we go again.
Like I like
Yeah.
SVU. It's good popcorn, but
Huh.
I need some good consume right now.
Hmm. All right. Okay.
Hmm.
Let's see. Anything else? Anything we can throw in here to spice it up a little bit, or just
I don't know. We're already over. But if you want to try to stretch it to 2 hours, what is it? I don't know. What would is there anything else that you haven't
hmm. Let's see.
do you keep freaking out because I think you're is that a like a
A lawnmower outside of my
no,
my.
not a lawnmower, but like your back thing. That's like a sheet, right? Or something like it's like a tapestry. Like it's
Yeah,
like
yeah, it is.
hanging on the wall, right? Like it's like
Uh-huh.
fabric and there's
Yeah.
like wind going behind it, so it keeps looking like the hair is like moving. That's kind of
Oh,
pretty
I didn't
cool.
notice. Oh, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is moving.
Yeah, which makes it look like the hair is moving, and it's a very cool effect.
Uh, yeah.
How many? I can't tell if anybody's watching. Has anybody watched live?
Yeah, we have two currently right now, actually.
Oh, fun.
Oh, okay. Well, um,
I know you were excited about this. Was it everything you hoped and dreamed it would be? Did I disappoint you?
no, I really enjoyed it. I love like talking about type and trying to like understand you better through, the typing.
Mhm.
Um, I guess like what advice would you have for, I mean, actually scratch that. Let's just talk about how you're type twins with Oprah. Do you relate to her?
Oh,
Like, do you feel like
yeah.
and
Yeah, in
where's my
some ways.
car?
Right, I know. Everybody gets a car. No. Yeah, I guess like in that thing too, right? Like and I've definitely done that at work. Like the you get a sort of thing.
Hmm,
Um
hmm,
yeah, and I mean I remember watching Oprah since I was like 11 years old. Like I
hmm,
loved her. Um I I think what is it? Yeah, I definitely do see the SI versus the NI though, like where I'm more grounded, but like from an Enneagram standpoint, if that's what it means to be the cool teacher overlay, then I'm cool with
hmm,
that. Like if that's what that means, then
hmm,
yeah, that makes sense to me. Um,
hmm.
and what else with that? I know like a lot of the snippets that I'm thinking of right now are like from OPS episodes though, but like, the whole like having to turn the sound down when you're driving and things like that. But she's very investigative, right? I wonder if that 6 really does
Yeah.
help with the consume last, right? Like it's like, even though it's TI last and it's consume last, it's like that 6 really does give you like I need to find the truth. I need to
Hmm,
investigate, right? It does give some extra almost motivation towards
hmm.
doing that work.
Yeah, it seems like you're more aware of it than maybe someone that's not core six as an FE.
Maybe.
Hmm.
I hate saying that. That feels like it's a values-based statement. I hate to say. Like everybody has everything. Everybody has everything that they like. I don't know. Pharisees.
Like I think of it kind of
Um,
like Goggins, like he, even though he sleep last, he's just very aware of it for
mm.
whatever reason. I think it's kind of like that, like you're aware of your consume.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Hmm. Yeah, because you have to understand reality. And like there's almost like a responsibility to understand reality,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. Hmm. Hmm.
And then
Hmm.
to be acceptably, but to be part of it, um, in the 9, especially with the social. And then what's the 3 doing? Yeah, it's oh my
Hmm.
god, that triple attachment's rough,
How do you
right?
feel about the that part, the triple attachment?
Oh, it's a blessing and a curse, right? Like it's like, um, and that was one of those things you talk about, like getting into an altered state, right? There was one time where I felt like I was coming out of it, and I was getting so sad by how detached, by how separate we are in this reality, like how separate and individual we are. Um,
Mm,
you know, as opposed to, you know, yeah, yeah. Even when I start to say it as opposed to, I'm still trying to justify. I'm still trying to bring it around about how, but in the all, we are still all everything and together, right? Like, and it's like I
mm,
can't let it be that it's separate. Like I can't fathom that it's separate. Like it's like, what is reality? I have to attach to reality. I have to attach to others. I have to attach to my understanding of everything. I have to attach to the fact that everything has to be perfect. Like it's like
mm,
the blessing is that like how beautiful and peaceful it gets as soon as you are able to let go.
mm,
It's like the world changes. It's like you've dipped the paintbrush in and the whole painting like just fills with color, you know?
mm,
Um And I get moments of that, but then it's like I get stuck to the board again, and it's like, but the beauty in it is that, when you're able to, I don't know, I feel like it's easier to let go than it is possibly, I would imagine, to attach if you're already free. I would
mm,
imagine it would feel confining to try to attach, if you're already free.
mm.
Maybe it doesn't
Yeah,
even feel free, right? Like to me, in my eyeballs, it feels like a freeing thing, but it probably feels lost, right? You probably feel like so disconnected and wanting to connect, but can't quite connect. I don't know. That's what if,
that's how I feel. Yeah,
yeah.
because I'm core hexad, but I'm triple attachment adjacent,
Mm,
and sometimes like I'll like interact with people for like more than I usually do, and I have to attach more, and I'll feel like really off for a couple days. I'm like I feel attached to socializing. I'm like I've kind of disowned aspects of my identity in order to find an identity within the social context strictly. Um, and it feels like something is, it's as if I'm a dog and you put a muzzle on my mouth. It's like, it feels like I've been muzzled.
mm,
That's how it feels. And it
mhm,
feels wrong. I'm like, I have to get this shit off. Like, I have to like open my mouth and like make it come off.
mm,
Um,
So it does feel
yeah,
confining then
it
to
does.
get attached. Right. Whereas like going away from attachment feels like, oh my god, there's so much. I mean, it's scary because it's like again, it's like losing myself. But because I really literally, I mean, I've had that experience. I had that experience where I was just completely in the ether, and not in a fun way. Um, and it
Mm,
was scary as fuck. Um, but yeah, leaning into that is beautiful.
mm. I'm just watching this guy cut my bushes through my window. He's like so close to it. I did not know that he does that. Okay. Anyways, all right. Well, I guess I'll have to deal with that. So this was really good. I learned a lot
Good.
about you, honestly. I'm gonna watch this back a couple times. I do that with everybody,
Okay.
and
I probably
so
will too. Save your sleep hashtag.
yeah. We gotta act like we're strict about
Yeah.
processing. Like we actually
Right.
do it. People think we're
Yeah.
joking. We actually do.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And you know what? I realized recently too. It's like if I go ahead and download the new one, like the update, right? I will install it.
Hmm.
As opposed to like you know downloading the update and never installing it. I feel like the installing is the sleep, downloading the update is the consume, and then installing the update is the sleep. It's like
Right.
work it in. It's like when you have consume and you don't have sleep, I'm like, can you please install that program? You keep reinstalling the program,
Right.
or like you keep re-downloading the program. It's in
Mm-hmm.
your downloads folder like 20 times. Can you just fucking install it,
Yeah.
please?
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry.
No, I hear you. I hear you. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Whereas me, I'm gonna like re-download it, or I'm gonna reinstall it 12 times, not understand why it's working. It's like, you idiot, like there's another version. You have to go download a new version. Like you
Mhm.
can't just reinstall the version you already have in your downloads folder. You have to go get another version to download and then install it. So we all have our problems.
Wow. No, that makes perfect sense to
You
me.
have both though.
Yeah, I do. I'm just constantly like gathering new like things and just processing. Where does it like create a new like picture, like a new
Mm,
way of um like gathering leverage from this new thing that I understand. Like now that I
mm,
understand this, how can I like move forward? You
mm,
know, like it's just
mm-hmm.
constantly trying to like see an opportunity to move forward through understanding a new thing.
Oof. That's gloriously individual. You're so aligned with your particular like view of the universe.
I
Mm,
try to be, but I feel like I'm just always breaking it somehow. I'm just always breaking it because Kensun is seen as like a worldview shatterer, like it shatters
mhm.
worldviews. So I'm like
Mhm.
always building it and breaking it and processing and breaking it. It's like I'm never,
Right.
yeah.
It's funny.
So that's the downside being EP with sleep. It's just kind
Yeah.
of
That's crazy. It's
kills it.
fun though.
Anyways, so
Yeah.
this is really nice. So
Yeah.
thank you so
Well,
much.
thank you for inviting me. I'm glad I did it. A little like, kind of remembering of all of the things. Yeah. I
And
hope
a
people
little
get something
DJ.
out of it. Yeah.
All right, and it
All
is.
right. Have a good one.